The Chicago Bears offensive line seems to always be a concern year in and year out. And we're here today to talk about that there are some positives going on with the offensive line and then the reality of things that are going on with the offensive line so far. And I have a very special guest here today to help me break that down because he's gotten to see it every single day at camp and has a better idea than you, me, and everybody else on Twitter. I got Zack Pearson in right now to talk about the Chicago Bears offensive line and where it stands. Zack, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm glad I could join, talk some Bears football.
And the offensive line obviously isn't the most exciting subject to talk about, but the thing is that it's part of the reality. And before we get into things, Zack, I just want to give a quick little shout out to the fans. If you haven't already, and you please could hit the like button on this video to enter to win a DJ Moore jersey in honor of him and getting a 4-year, $110 million extension. Along with that, commenting congrats in the comment section below and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. But Zack, you ready to talk about this amazing offensive line the Chicago Bears have?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, Zack, you've seen things. We ran into each other at practice on Friday, the first Friday open practice. The offensive line is struggling. There's no doubt about it. They're having false starts. There's holding calls. It mainly is coming from the second and third string guys, but those starters are starting to have their struggles as well. What are you seeing so far out of at least the starting unit right now from a positive and a negative standpoint?
Yeah, first off, I think overall it's been a bit of a struggle. We've seen the operation, as Matt Eberflus likes to call it, struggle a bit. And we saw that a little bit in OTAs and minicamp, and that was kind of expected. Rookie quarterback, kind of a new offensive line, some new pieces. And then it kind of went over in the training camp, and, they thought maybe it was fixed, and then we come out on first day of pads, and then they're committing false starts and delay of games. So they got to get that cleaned up. That's pretty much been the bad. Once they get that cleaned up, I think they can focus on the blocking and protecting Caleb Williams. The positive still for me, with the offensive line is I think that Darnell Wright is still their best right tackle. We've seen him give up some sacks, but he's going against Montez Sweat a lot. And, that's not an easy task. That's just going to happen. I think Braxton Jones has held up fairly well. By no means I don't think he's gonna be an all-pro, but I think he's a serviceable player. I'm more worried about the interior. We've seen Teven Jenkins get banged up a little bit. He's a guy, if he stays healthy, he's gonna be fine, but still got to find a solution at center. And then, Nate Davis, what are you going to get from him?
So we're going to hit on center in a little bit and Nate Davis, ironically, next. But talking about those positives that you were hitting on first, Darnell Wright does look good. And I still love the fact that he blocked Max Crosby with one arm last season.
Yeah.
Looking at Teven Jenkins, though, that's been a big question for people. When I saw him, he looked like he put on a little bit more muscle. He looks like, and knock on wood, he hasn't been with the trainers at all through camp so far, which is rare for him.
Yep.
Talking about that real quick, what positives are you seeing out of Teven? Because Teven's obviously potential contract extension guy coming up here soon. A lot of people want to know what's going on with him. Is he struggling in any way, or are you seeing strictly positives out of him?
I think, honestly, the biggest positive is he's like self-aware of what he has to do to earn that contract. When he's talked to us a couple of times, he said it, man. He says, I got to stay healthy. I've been taking care of my body more. I've spent a lot of money this offseason taking care of my body. So he recognizes in order to get that contract, he's got to be healthy and perform at a high level. We've seen him perform at a high level when he's healthy. That's the big issue. The positives for me from him is what we see essentially in games. He's a really good left guard, when he's healthy. I think he can hold up in the run game. I think he's a good, pass protector. The negatives, he's left practice a couple of times. He's never really not seen the trainers or anything like that. It's kind of hobbled off. I think he saw the trainer once, and it was like for like a minute or two, and it was kind of, are you good? So, that's been, I guess, the small negative, but it's not even really a negative in my eyes. So, yeah, I just think, honestly, the positive, we know what he can do on the field, but it's a self-awareness to, I got to take care of my body. This is what I have to do, to get that second contract. And he wants to be here. He's made it clear he wants to be a member of the Chicago Bears for the long term.
That's the vibe that we've been getting from everybody so far, which is great. Like, that culture has been built. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus have been doing a great job. Also, I do still want to publicly apologize to Matt Eberflus for coming for his head last year. I love that guy with every ounce of my body now. So I know that a lot of Bears fans feel the same way about me, but I had to throw that one in there. But a guy that we need to talk about, though, that has been paid, that hasn't been healthy is Nate Davis. Nate Davis has now missed, multiple padded practices. He did do padded practice on Friday, but I believe it's now Saturday, Monday, and now Tuesday that he did not. Clearly he's not, none of the starters playing in the Hall of Fame game. So that didn't happen either. But what's going on with Nate Davis? What are you seeing out of him? Because things looked positive at first. It looked like the fans were starting to get to, see it. And then we're back to the Nate Davis that everyone highly dislikes. What are you feeling, Zach?
Yeah, I wasn't worried in OTAs and minicamp when he was missing. That's just kind of a veteran. That's, you could kind of understand that. But now with training camp, he leaves the practice on Saturday. Doesn't come back in after one-on-one drills. Didn't even participate in the one-on-one drills, and hasn't practiced since. Monday, non-pads, was not practicing at all. Today was not practicing at all. And you ask Matt Eberflus, and it's kind of just, he's day-to-day. Same with Kyler Gordon, day-to-day. And we can't figure that out because now it's been over a week for Kyler Gordon. So at what point do these injuries become week-to-week, essentially? Yeah, the Bears still seem fully committed to him from what they tell us in the media. Shane Waldron said he's the starter when healthy. He was asked if there is a competition, because he did say there are competitions on the offensive line. And credit to Mark Grody for recognizing that and asking, hey, like you said, competitions. Is there competition at right guard? And Waldron shut that down. So they're when Nate Davis is healthy, they want him at right guard. But man, I mean, you're giving Ryan Bates valuable reps now. Coleman Shelton's getting valuable reps at center. It's been some consistent play on the offensive line the last couple of practices. I don't know. I still think Nate Davis will be the starter week 1 if he's healthy at right guard. But I think we're kind of seeing maybe the beginning of the end, potentially. Maybe a surprise roster cut down the line, or, after this year, I think would be probably his final year.
Well, so if we were to cut Nate Davis, I was looking at this earlier. If we were to cut him, we would owe him about $12.5 million in dead cap. That's just dead cap this year. Next year, it's only about 4.5 from what I was reading from Spot Rack. So, that's why, and I'm dropping this. So this video is obviously recorded before this trade drops, but I did a mock trade sending Nate Davis to the New England Patriots. I'll send that to you tomorrow to get your thoughts on it, Zach. But you can't do anything. You might as well let him play. It's, it is what it is. And if he doesn't play, he doesn't play. That's why I'm happy we went out and got Ryan Bates, because he has been better at right guard than center, but he can play center. No matter what, it's an upgrade from center last year, which that's our next topic we're going to talk about. But I'm nervous about this guy. You gave him a bunch of guaranteed money. You owe him a ton of money this year. And he's not, and like you said, he's missing valuable reps with Caleb. On the flip side, though, when he is playing, he actually looks pretty darn good. Yeah. So he's just one of those guys that you're just like, I can't get rid of him, but I want to, because he's not reliable, but he's so good. I mean, Zach, how is he? Is he pretty positive around? Because he looks like he's smiling when he's on I would be smiling too if I was making $14 million.
Yeah. I mean, he's positive. I mean, I haven't really seen any negative interactions, anything. I mean, he's there too. He very well could be like, I'm going to the trainer's room, something like that. I will say this. I don't think the Bears do him or some other player, majority of players favors with their injury policy. And what happened last year with, personal stuff in his life, they probably could have, given the media a heads up and said, or maybe Nate Davis didn't want it out. Or maybe something off the record, like, hey, here's what's going on, before everyone kind of went to social media and bashed them, which we didn't know. I mean, no one knew what was going on. But yeah, with injuries, it's tough, because it's easy for, I'm not taking a shot at anyone. It's easy for people on the outside to criticize, and rightfully so. They're frustrated. Their favorite team paid a lot of money for a right guard who was had his moments last year that played well. And now he's not out there, and he's sitting and he's not practicing. But we don't know. They could come out and say, they should come out and say, like, yeah, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. We'll get him back in. I just don't think they do him a ton of favors. But yeah, from what I've seen, he's he's been positive. He's been talking to the guys on the offensive line. He always stands next to the offensive line in between drills. He's there in the one-on-one drills. I've noticed him talking to the rookie.
Karan,
yes. And giving that veteran leadership. So I hope he gets in there. I don't know if he'll play any preseason games, but I do hope he gets in there and he can make an impact in week 1.
So speaking of impact and what we need, so thanks, Zach, for bringing that down, because a lot of people don't see what's going on with Nate Davis, but he is there. Like he's actually physically there.
It's not like he's at home or anything like that. I've seen him every day that he's been hurt or every day that he's not participated in practice, besides obviously the voluntary stuff in the off season. But yeah, he's been there at training camp, and he's been involved with the offensive line.
Well, speaking of the involvement in the offensive line, we kind of started hitting on it earlier, but we have a big question mark on the center position right now. We got Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates. Doug Kramer, I don't think is in that competition. Let's just be frank there. He's a good depth guy. He seems like a good teammate. The Bears have kept him around for 3 years now.
Yeah.
What is going on at center? You've had now it's been Ryan Bates at right guard because of the fact of Nate Davis being out. But before that, there is a center competition going on currently at the moment. How do you feel about Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates? Who's impressing you more? Can you kind of give like a little bit of a breakdown of what you're seeing at camp?
Yeah, before Nate Davis got hurt, I thought it'd be Ryan Bates would be the center for sure. I still thought it'd be a competition, but I thought in the end Ryan Bates would win out and would be the starting center week 1. I think it all depends on Nate Davis. If he's healthy, obviously Nate Davis is going to be the right guard. Are they going to go with Coleman Shelton? Coleman Shelton now, the past, 3 practices, including today on Tuesday, is been the starting center due to the injury to Nate Davis. Ryan Bates has played right guard. And like you said, Ryan Bates has been a better guard in his career than center. So he's more used to that. So I think it's more valuable for Ryan Bates to get those center reps. But that's just not happening with the injury. So honestly, I still think it's wide open. I was talking to someone who's been around the Rams and has covered them, and he said, I kind of brought up, I think Bates is going to win the job. Shelton's a good veteran. He's a good depth piece. And he said, do not sleep on Coleman Shelton. He's not going to wow you. He's going to have the low PFF scores or the yellow PFF scores, but you're going to watch a game and you're going to say, wow, Coleman Shelton played a pretty damn good game. And, he went up against Aaron Donald in that Rams defensive line in practice. So right now, I think it's still 50-50. I think, as weird as it sounds, the injury to Nate Davis benefits Coleman Shelton, even if Nate Davis returns, because now Shelton's getting the majority of those reps at the first team center spot.
I mean, I don't mind what I've seen. He was starting when I was there as well on Friday for public open practice, and he didn't look bad. He had one wild snap.
Yeah,
and
that hasn't been a problem all training camp. There's been no, like we've seen. I mean, watching games, you see whether it was Lucas Patrick, Cody Whitehair, Sam Mustipher, anyone that they played at center, how many times do we see the ball on the ground or over someone's head?
I'm going to say too many times, because if you say more than once, it's too many. Yes. That's
it's more than once a game almost.
It's not good. Yeah. Not good at all. I'm just happy that we're in this position, and that leads to my next comment. So, Zach, for you, I want to hear your thoughts before I share mine. Is the offensive line better than last year? Are you seeing an improvement?
Man, I don't want to be negative, but at this rate, I'm worried. I'm just saying, I'm a little worried. I'm not panicking. We talked earlier about some stuff, but I'm not panicking. I am worried because I think this offseason, I think what the Bears did on the offense, the additions were perfect for Caleb Williams. I think they upgraded a lot of spots. I think they upgraded at center. I don't think they got their centerpiece for the future at that position. And a lot of it's going to depend on health, because odds are more than one person is going to get hurt on the offensive line. But you're asking a lot. You're asking a lot of questions with these guys. Can Braxton Jones take that next step as a left tackle? Can Teven Jenkins stay healthy? Is Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates a solution at center? Is Nate Davis going to stay healthy? What's Darnell Wright going to give you in year 2? Is there going to be a progression? I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be on track to being a really good right tackle again. But I'm just a little worried about the offensive line because I do think if things were to go wrong with this offense, I think it would start right there because that impacts the run game and it impacts Caleb Williams.
Championships are won in the trenches, and you could have the best offensive line out there, but if you don't have anyone backing you up, that's why I like the Ryan Bates pickup. I thought that was good. I hope Karan can play, but he's hurt. Speaking of help, but just the one thing with me is that Braxton was out last year. Darnell played with one arm against Max Crosby because we literally had no one else. You got Teven that's hurt every single year. You got Coleman Shelton that played the last 2 years fully, but before that was never fully healthy. You got Ryan Bates coming off an injury too. I mean, Ryan Poles, who is a former offensive lineman, put a lot of risk into this offensive line, especially bringing in the number 1 overall pick. I think that he should have addressed more in the draft and in free agency, in my personal opinion, considering now our wide receiver room, in my opinion, is overloaded with, Rome, Keenan, DJ Moore. It's a great problem to have, but I think that there wasn't enough focus there. So I'm with you. I'm worried about a lot of things too. I think that this line can be better if healthy, which that is a big if.
Yes, with everyone on the line too. I mean, I know it might seem obvious to listeners and everyone that follows, but it's important because how many times last year Teven got hurt, Braxton got hurt, Darnell was playing with a busted shoulder at times, Nate Davis was hurt at times, and the depth behind them, are they going to keep Larry Borum? He's probably your primary swing tackle if Kieran's not healthy. He's got some contract incentives. If that offensive line breaks down, I mean, it's going to be problems, but that's important. And I agree. I'm fine with the Rome pick. I'm fine with their draft for the most part. But I think we're going to look at 2025 and you're going to look at offensive line, defensive line as priority. And I'm shocked it hasn't been after, Matt Eberflus's Ryan Poles' first press conference being introduced. He had a quote about, or a line about, wanting to build in the trenches eventually and getting those trenches solidified. And it's a start with Darnell Wright and Teven Jenkins, but other than that, it's been a little bit of a struggle there.
Well, I'll never forget when we brought in Dakota Dozer, and as Bears fans, we were insanely happy about it. And he tore his ACL 5 minutes later.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was like 2 years ago, I think. Right, or was it last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago. The only reason why I remember him is because he was my first ever 10,000 view video on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good one. Good one to remember.
Not bad because 5 minutes. I felt like 5 minutes later I was saying that he was injured.
Yeah.
Zach, one more comment before we close out today. You kind of hit on it earlier, but I want to get just kind of your quick 1 minute yes or no answer. Do you extend Teven Jenkins? Do you extend Teven Jenkins after this year? I'm not even going to give a scenario. Yes or no?
Yes, I would, because I think you've asked the guy to do a lot, and over the last couple of years he's been here. He's been asked to do a lot. He's a good tackle. He's a really good guard, in my opinion. I would for the right price. I think even if, he goes to the negotiation tables, the Bears are going to tell him, look, you haven't been healthy. We'll offer you this. You don't like it, go in the open market. I do think he'd be willing to take a team discount. I can't speak for him. I wouldn't blame him if he says no and doesn't want to take it. I usually side with the players on that. I would if it was up to me, but unless, he comes out week 2 or 3 and is just really hurt again and he doesn't play, then I don't think you can.
Well, I love it because that was your 30-second elevator pitch. I agree with you. It really depends on his health. He has to prove that he can stay healthy. It's nice to hear that he's spending money on himself and investing in his career because this is the biggest year of his contract. I think he's making like $6 or $7 million, which, that's not a small amount of money anyway.
Yeah. And he wants to be here too. He said it.
And he wants to be here. That's the big part. Anyone that wants to be a part of a team, is going to play harder for said team. So I'm with you, man. I agree. I would re-sign him depending on how things go. So Zach, the big question to close things out today, and we're going to not even give a scenario to this.
Okay.
It's going to see how it goes. What is the Bears' final record at the end of the year?
I will say the Bears are going to finish 9-8.
Okay.
9-8.
I respect that.
I think the back half of that schedule is tough. But I think 9-8, I think a lot of people would take that, but I know people want playoffs. I think 9-8, they'll stay in the wild card hunt, potentially sneak in and get that last spot, but I'll go 9-8 for right now.
Well, they said last year with that defense how hot it was. If the Bears did sneak in, they would have been one of the teams to beat in the playoffs. And this defense only got better. You know, hopefully if this offensive line can stay healthy, anything's possible. I have them at 11-6.
Okay.
I know Adam Rank had them at 12-5. I think that I think we'll end up losing on Thanksgiving to the Lions, which a lot of people think we're going to upset. But I think that it's going to be a good year for the team. But I'm fine with 9-8 too. As my floor sneaking into the playoffs. Playoffs have to happen this year. That's why you took Caleb Williams. So Zach, can't thank you enough for coming on the show. And do you want to tell everyone real quick where they can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now. Zack, ZACK_Pearson. Bearreport.com is all my stuff, daily notebooks, insight. You know, we try to give you the best stuff. For people that aren't there, you know, I love watching OL, DL one-on-ones, wide receiver, QB, DB one-on-ones. That's the stuff I geek out over. So I try to provide that. And then follow the Bear Report on Twitter. It's just Bear Report.
And everything's in the description below, guys. So make sure you go shoot everything a follow and make sure you stay up to date on all Chicago Bears news and notifications from them and us. But Zach, thank you again for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And with that, thank you as always for today's episode of Just Another Year Chicago Bears. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside Zack Pearson, and we'll see you guys next time. Bear down, baby.